Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to another episode of Inspiring Educators with your host, Teacher Brian from the Philippines. And for this episode, we're blessed to have another wonderful educator. And this time, let's travel to Kenya and meet this very enthusiastic teacher. And we can't wait to hear her wonderful story. Ladies and gentlemen, in this podcast episode, let's all welcome Teacher Joselyn Kawira. Teacher Joselyn, hi, good afternoon. How are you?
Good afternoon, Brian. I'm well. Receive our evening greeting from Kenya.
Wonderful. Finally, Teacher Joselyn, we were able to do this episode. It took quite a while, but I believe that there is the right time for every matter, and I believe January 1st is the perfect day for this episode. So, teacher, we were so excited to know your story, me and my listeners. So let's get started.
Yes.
We wanted to know more about you, Teacher Joselyn. So can you tell or can you share something about yourself, please?
Wonderful. Yeah, so Teacher Joselyn is a teacher, as you are calling her. Her mathematics and chemistry teacher. She's been a teacher for a while, maybe longer than you have lived. I've been a teacher for the last 27 years.
Wow, that's
And
great.
yeah, I'm also a mentor, basically with academics, students academics. I'm also an author, but I would want to talk a little bit more about Teacher Joselyn as a mentor. Let me say this, by definition, mentorship means working with someone in an area you are good in to help them become better than you, or at least somebody. So I would say this mentorship bit of me, it's more of an inborn thing. I wouldn't say that it has been acquired through some training or some learning.
Mm-hmm.
It's something I think as I was growing up, I noted that it was something even other kids in me would defy it. Just as a small child, there's this aspect of a bit of self-discipline. I think it's so much inborn in me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something which was noticeable with other kids as you are growing up. I remember at around 7, 8, 9 years, other kids in lower primary would come with some cents.
Mm-hmm.
That time, a 10 cents was a lot of money in my country. And at that tender age, they would entrust me with money for a period of around 3 months so that I could save for them on closing day we have a party. So they looked on me like somebody who can guide them, somebody they can trust for money with that little money at that tender age. And I think it's just grew in me that I need to be a good example to the others. That actually kept on making me think I should be a good example.
Mm-hmm.
Leadership is part of mentorship. You cannot mentor when you are not a leader. But I think the leadership bit in Joselyn didn't come out so strongly. One, because of family background. When you're not from a very well-up family, you don't feel influential. You don't feel like you can influence others. Mm-hmm. But I think the leadership in me was there, only that I did not have that enthusiasm to bring it out as I was growing up. But the first time I held a position in leadership, it was in a very pronounced position. That was when I joined high school at around 18 years. It's the first time I became a leader. I happened to have schooled in a national, I would call it an international school. That's actually the very best school in my country up to today. The one I went to in the 80s. It's still a good school and a reputable school. And that's in that school, we used to have something called 40 senior school prefects. If you're among the 40 senior prefects, then you know you are a leader. And I was appointed as one. That was my first leadership position, which actually from then I went to college, I was still a leader. And since then, I've continued to become a leader throughout. The other bit about Joselyn is that now when it came to the mentorship, the guidance and everything, when I was through the college, the institution I was posted to first, it's like the teachers, they are noted still that aspect in me. And right from the word go, and I was a very young teacher, very naive, didn't know much, and I would mingle more with the students than with the teachers. The teachers who are there kept on encouraging me to be more involved with the students. In my country, there's something we call guidance and counseling department, which handles students' emotional issues, psychological issues, and all those issues. And I remember from the word go, when I started my teaching profession back in 1997, the teachers I met in the field, the mature teachers, it's like they pulled me into that department by force. They would just tell me, you are going to talk to the girls this afternoon, prepare something. I actually didn't know what. They would tell me just anything you can tell these students. So that is how I became what I am. And 6 years after teaching, I felt like I think there's more to me about this teaching and this guidance. So I went back to college again, and I did a degree in guidance and counseling. This gave me a very big footing as far as the field I'm working in now of academic mentorship is concerned, and that's how Joselyn became who she is.
Wow. We're just getting started, teacher, but you have a very wonderful introduction about yourself. It's not the typical introduction that you tell how old are you, where are you from, the job that you have, but you introduce yourself as a very wonderful educator, a very wonderful mentor. Okay, I'm interested with that information about you, but we'll talk about that later. Now, Teacher Joselyn, let's go with the second question that we got in here. Okay, so we are interested to know, how did you become an educator? What is the story? Why did you become a teacher? Can you share what happened?
Okay. I think becoming a teacher is a story. I would say it was not something I slept over. When we are growing up, teaching was not the career that comes in your mind. You want to be a doctor, you want to be an engineer, you want to be a lawyer. You know, teaching never comes as an option. But after I was through with high school, I found myself that among the options which were available for me, I felt teaching was more of my calling. The other options included look very lucrative as per my personality. One of them was hospitality. And I remember the person who presented the option, the way they presented it, I felt like it was even conflicting my beliefs, my Christian beliefs and everything. I'll be serving people, be here and everything. So it's like I felt teaching was a more safe place for me. And that is how I entered into the teaching. Now, when I went to this teaching, I found that I was impacting more on the students than I actually expected. And it's like, I sat down, I was like, I think this, in as much as I found myself in this teaching as it was not something I'd slept over for a long time, I felt like this was more of what was more fulfilling, and especially that helping bit. And then now I would flow very easily with the students in class. I remember like my first station I was posted. There's something in my country, I don't know whether it's common in Philippines, about being a class teacher. A class teacher is the one who monitors the students who are present, listens to them, present their issues to the school administration and everything. So the class was given, the first class was given when I reported to my teaching, whatever, back in 1997, happened to not be performing so well as compared to the other classes in the same stream. And with the time, by the time we were in the second year or so, we had worked with these students so closely. We had devised ways of making this learning competitive. We had started defeating the other classes which were defeating us right from the beginning. And I felt like now, yes, I think this is where I belong. And that's how teaching became a fulfilling profession for me.
Wow, that's really great, teacher. Because like you've shared a while ago, you were given a class that was not that performing, but then
Yes.
with your guidance, with your mentorship, you were able to turn it over as a performing group of students. And was that the first class you've handled? Was that the first class?
Yes, it was the first class.
Wow.
It was actually the first class to handle when I was a young teacher. That time was not even a mother. I was just, they were more sisters to me. We were almost the same age with them. The age difference was so small. But I would say that is a class which actually made me whom I am. Why I say that is after teaching them, I taught them between 97 and in 2000, they graduated from high school. But in 2002, I felt compelled to go back to school to do this guidance. Actually, it's that class which opened up my mind of doing the guidance, which actually now defines my current more professional of academic mentor. So I went back to school in 2002 after I noted how I've been able to help this class and all that. I graduated in 2004 at that time and moved to another school. I was made the head of department of now the guidance and the counseling. And I was always in school even after the other teachers have left. I found a lot of peace. I found a lot of comfort listening to the students, listening to their issues. We would do the mathematics and chemistry. I think I mentioned about mathematics and chemistry teacher, but we would do more of their life, the life of a learner, those challenges, those issues which come up with them and all that. And I would work extra hours without anybody's knowledge. That time even the administrators in the school have gone home. But as late as 7, I'm still in the compound. We are sharing in a small room with the students. We are just in a secluded room. They are giving me their issues. We are working on it. And it really became a very good thing. Somewhere along the way, in my country, schools introduced something called Academic Clinic Day. Academic Clinic Day is a day where parents come to school and the teachers sit at the strategic positions in the school compound, and the student and the parent would go and discuss the academic performance. You go through it. Why are you not doing well? Why are you failing in this subject? Why has your performance started going down? All those. And I remember at one time, a student I added all the students whose parents had come. But I think after one term or so, one student came and she was like, "Excuse me, madam, I've come to say thank you." I asked her for what? And she was like, "The things you told me to do during the academic day, I have done them and I've started improving." Okay, let me confess. Actually, I don't know what I told that girl, but she started improving after I had shared, after we had talked with her. So this incident and the incidents of the first class or the class teacher, it kind of started provoking me. There's more you can do to these students on top of teaching them mathematics and chemistry.
Uh,
So I started thinking more, and I started thinking of how I can reach more students. It didn't work so easily that time, but actually it gave me the footing of what I actually do up to today.
well, I would say that it was really a calling. You were called to teach, but more than teaching, you were called to mentor, to change their lives. Actually, if you would allow me
Sure.
to say that, Teacher Jocelyn, because yeah, you have a specialty, mathematics and chemistry, but perhaps God gave you the ability to change, improve lives, just like what the student just said to you. Thank you, madam, for improving my life, becoming a better person. Well, that was really a great calling. If you would allow me to say, you were really called not just to serve your wonderful
Yeah.
students there, but to improve, change their lives, to become better. Because we are the ones who are handling our lives. But then there is this teacher, Joselyn Kawira, who is, improving, who's changing lives. We're just getting
And
started.
it's my pleasure.
We're
It's my big pleasure. I
But
get a
we're-
lot of satisfaction in that.
Oh, definitely. It was really a wonderful satisfaction. And just like I'm saying, we're just getting started. It's just the second question. We're now about to go much more deeper about you as Joselyn Kawira and as Teacher Joselyn. So the next question, teacher, is
Yes.
every country experienced pandemic. It's not only Philippines, it's not only Kenya, but the whole country. Me and my listeners wanted to know, how did you cope up with the pandemic? Yeah, we are already going back to the normal situation, but we wanted to know, how does Joselyn Kawira and Teacher Joselyn Kawira coped up with the pandemic? Is there a difference? If we are teachers, is there a difference in coping up to that kind of situation, or is it just the same? Tell us your wonderful story.
Okay. Pandemic came. It was a big thing for everybody. In my country, the first case was reported in March 2020. I remember it was around the 15th or so. That day, I was actually out to go to a school. I remember a meeting was called off when the pandemic was there. This meeting I was going for is now what my issue of mentorship and developed into. As I mentioned, is after this case of this girl I helped the class, I had now started thinking of how do I reach to many students. And as I mentioned there earlier, is that it didn't work so well until around 2010, when I felt now I need to go to schools. I want to go to schools and talk to students and actually help them improve academics. That was my main mission. So it didn't work well. One of the challenges was when I was teaching in high school, the schedules in my country are very tight. You don't get time to go to other schools. So it was not so well. But around 2014, I actually left teaching high school. Currently, I am a TVET trainer. TVET is the Technical and Vocational Education Training, which is a higher level than high school. And there you get a little bit more time. It's not so tight like high school. You have to be in school throughout. There you go. So from this time now, when I left her teaching high school in 2014, have started getting engaging with the schools, many more schools during my free time. And I remember one of the principals in one of the schools I was in around 2019, before 2020, when the pandemic was was at its peak, and he challenged me to write a book. Well, that was an encouragement in a way to hear somebody telling me, I want you to translate whatever you're doing with students in a book. But at the same time, it was a big challenge for me. I felt like I've never thought of writing a book, let me say. Yeah? I'd never thought I could sit down and write a book. But the challenge came, and gradually, by the end of 2019, I had produced a book. This book was so small. My first book was small. It's the book is the one which made me work during pandemic. That's why I want to bring a bit of that. The book was so small. It was a B6 book size, B6. It was around 98 pages. I remember I produced it around September. I produced 1,000 copies. And by the time schools in my country were closing in November, I had sold out all those copies. So it had been a very encouraging thing. And I had already started now 2020 January came and already produced another copy of the same, a bigger one. Now this time was a B5 and it was around 120 pages. So I was already out in the field selling, and it was at the peak of my that career of mentorship and everything. So this day I remember very well, it was on a Friday.
Mm-hmm.
I was out that weekend. I had 3 schools to attend to sell the book and also talk to students about academic performance. So actually, I normally tell people that weekend alone, I lost almost around Kenya shillings 75,000, which is a good amount in my country. But now when that pandemic came, now the lockdown, nothing was happening. One parent who happened to be a board of management in one of the schools I was supposed to be working with, and he happens to be working in a company, called me after I think 2 weeks. People were confused. We didn't know what next. He called me and asked me, are you still in the house? What are you planning with the student whom you are working with? I told him, now what? I mean, I had no idea. We didn't know things like Zoom. We didn't know things like whatever. I mean, we had no idea of such things, especially in my country. So he told me in their company, they have introduced an app where they are meeting, working from home. It was so much willing to teach me. He just told me how to install the app on my phone. Once I've installed, I called him. He took me through how to use the Zoom app on teaching. And immediately after that, he gave me around 2 students. And he told me, reach out to the other principals and tell them to give you the students whom you have been working with. You continue with them during this pandemic. To my amazement, it just worked like a miracle. The first students came, we had a good time, we talked, and we could flow. My presentations, which I was working with in schools, were already in PowerPoint. So it was not a big deal. Once he showed me how to use the PowerPoint, it was very interesting to meet my students again, now from my house and in their house. And the one is friend that Joselyn is doing something with students. So in the process, an officer in the Ministry of Education in my country sent me a link, which was a competition indicating people who are working with the people to present what they are doing with the students during the pandemic, teachers. And this was from Cohen. I think you want Cohen from Total Action Global. It's he had that, whatever. When I presented this to my friends through the WhatsApp groups, the friends were very, enthusiastic about it. They used the link to spread the word what I'm doing. I got an influx of students, and they continued the voting. Actually, that voting is what actually has led to the me and you meeting this afternoon. Because I remember when I started that now the competition, you needed to get people vote for you so that now you can be known. So I would get so many. And I remember one day I went to the site and I met this person who had only 680 votes when I was joining. And I was like, hey, when I meet here, only to realize every day I would check on that name. I'll tell you who is that person because I know it's a person you know. I would check on that name and I noted she was getting 1 vote per day. By the time I was at 10,000 votes, hers had moved from 680 to 686 votes. And I was like, no, I think I should be voting for this person. I don't know from where. I think sometimes I'm too kind-hearted. I just decided to vote for my competitor. So every day I would vote for this competitor and my votes were moving. Actually, by the time the competition was through, I was at around 37,000 and she had not made it to 700. So I would vote for her every day. At one time, we had an online meeting and we side chatted with her. I just noted her name. She had put her name the way she had put the competition. So I side chatted with her. We chatted, we became friends and all that. And I can tell you, it's through this friend that I met Amil, doctorate. It's through this friend I've met you. It's through this friend I met people like Mohiadin Buihan, who is the director of Global Education Network, where I'm now the country coordinator for my country. It's through this friend, just that one vote I used to do for this person is the one which has led me to all this. So my pandemic was an opener, and I would say it's that kindness of me voting for one, but it's Taruna Kapul. I know you know Taruna Kapul.
Yeah, a good friend.
Yeah, it's through Taruna Kapul. I've come to know Kina Alicia. I've come to know so many other people. So that is how my pandemic was. It was an opener. It has opened my world. It has opened my eyes. It has opened my connections. It has made me whom I am. Before then, you wouldn't see that Joselyn Kawera you know in social media. Actually, I don't think even my Facebook had more than 5 friends. But now I have over 5,000 friends. I get views. It is a popular page. Actually, last week, Facebook told me my page and an increase in reach of 3,700%.
Wow.
And I tend to assume it's because the students in my country were closing schools by 23rd of December. So the minute they came home, they must have flocked onto my page to see how their mentor is faring on.
That was really a great time. If you would allow me to say, teacher, most of the educators that I talked with, interviewed in the different episodes, pandemic was considered, they said that it was like a blessing for us teachers because we were able to meet teachers from around the globe because we are using our computers, internet, our device. We are knowing different methods in teaching. We're meeting different persons in order for us to become a better one. And I would say that you become not just, like I've said a while ago, you're not just a teacher, you're not just a mentor now, but you're also a writer. Like you've said, you got a book, okay? 5 books that you just sold thousands of copies, and that just happened during the pandemic time. So pandemic helped you, and like you've said, it opened up lots of opportunities, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I actually knew what social media is. Let me say that.
That's also
I
great.
Connected the world. Yeah.
It's also great. You've maximized the social media, and right now, later on, dear listeners, Teacher Joselyn would be also promoting her page. And if you would like as well, teacher, you could promote your books, okay? Because, that's the power of the social media, okay?
Sure.
With just this podcast, with the webinars you've been part of, look where you are right now. You're not just, again, a teacher, a moderator, an author, but you are an inspiration. Okay?
Yeah.
But we're not done yet. We still got one more question. Okay, this if you would allow me to say, this is the heart of this podcast that I'm doing. I wanted to know, together with my listeners, of
Mm.
course, Teacher Joselyn, how do you inspire your learners? You know, you are a teacher, you are a mentor, and you are an author. But we wanted to know your secret. What's behind the success of Teacher Joselyn as a teacher, as a mentor, as an author? How do you inspire people?
Okay. Let me say, I believe what inspires my learners is the Jocelyn herself. One thing is, I teach myself. Whatever I do with the students what I know it myself and what I have done. I don't separate me and bring something else into the system. If it is teaching, one thing I teach subjects that are not very friendly to students, both boys and girls. And I, being a girl who is in that field of mathematics and chemistry, have always used my experience as a student to talk to these students and make them realize it can. In one of my books, it's called Side Mirror to Success. I've given a personal example of how I excelled in mathematics. Throughout primary in my country, we have the primary up to allowed grade 8 and then the secondary. Throughout my primary school, I was good in mathematics, but it is not an inborn thing. I always tell students, so you don't have to say in our family we are mathematicians. I'm from a large family, Africa, Kenya, we have big families. I'm a 11th born in a family, and I'm the last born. But in that family, none of my older siblings have ventured into the line of science and mathematics. They have ventured into humanities. So one, I tell students, you don't have to have a genetic makeup to make it in sciences. You can make it whatever. So I tell them what happened is that I got challenged by my mother, who had not been to school when I was, I think, around 9 years or so, 8 years. She one morning came and asked me to do for her some calculations about some milk payments, the monthly bill for milk. So she wanted me to do for her some calculations for another woman who had come to pay milk from our home. And that time was in grade 2. I was just around 9 years. So I tried to think of that mathematics of how much this woman should be paying her. And I gave my mother a figure and she told me no. And that thing challenged me because I've told you I'm the last born. So she was elderly. She just passed on last year. May her soul rest in peace. And I wondered, I am the one going to school and she's telling me no to my calculation. So I did another time the calculation of the money which was to be paid, and she told me no for the third time. And I felt challenged. So I went now, when you were growing up in the village, the kitchen was different from the main house where you sleep. So this time we were in the kitchen early in the morning. So I went to the main house to get my pencil and my book to do the calculation. So when I did with the book is when she told me, yes, now you are correct. So I was like, now one, you woman, you are telling me to do for you this calculation and you knew the answer. And then secondly, I challenged myself. How come I could not do that calculation in my mind, but her, she doesn't know how to write. She had already done it in the mind and she got it. And from that morning, I changed my thinking. I decided every time my mathematics teacher that time would give me a calculation, instead of picking the sticks we were using to calculate, if you're given 3 plus 4 or 3 plus 1, you'd take 3 sticks, put one place, take another one and then count all of them. Or you draw the 3 circles and 1 circle and then you cancel them out. So I said, before I do that, I'll always first do it in my mind. And then I can now do it with the sticks and confirm. And that thing opened my mind in terms of thinking. And that is how I ended up becoming a mathematician. Throughout primary, I was doing quite well in mathematics. Then, when I went to high school, it was also a bit challenging. Transiting from the 2 systems in my country is a bit challenging. And I've seen most students get lost in that thing. And that's what I'm saying. I always use my example. I also almost got lost in the transition from this primary education to what we call secondary education in my country. There's a lot of differences between the 2 systems. The examination system is different. In primary, you do multiple choice. In the secondary, you do structured or race equations. And there's a lot of differences. So I also became a victim of the transition, whereby most students are also getting lost. So in the process, when I was transiting from Form 2 to Form 3, I actually got 3 out of 50 in mathematics. And that communicated to me differently other than what most students interpret. What happens is that when students start failing in a certain subject, they always decide they will not do that subject. But for me, that's getting 3 out of 50 communicated differently to me. It communicated to me that I needed to approach my revision and my studies differently. And now, when I went now to do it differently, is what made it to be possible for me. I ended up now to be a lecturer in mathematics. When my other friends became negative, they developed a bad attitude towards it, they hated the teacher and all that. So the success story of me as a teacher is, one, I was always very positive about it. And the success story of my influence to students as an academic mentor is I share practical things. I show them that paper which I got 3 out of 50. They see it, and now they are being talked to by a lecturer in mathematics. And I tell them the whole thing is about the attitude and your mindset. So my success has been in that I use my practical examples. When it comes to mentorship, there's a big confusion between mentorship and motivation speaker. You know, people think when you are a mentor, you are a motivation speaker. And I used to have that problem in so many schools. When I go to talk to students, they want to introduce Madam Joselyn has come as a motivation speaker. And I will be very specific. I am not a motivation speaker. A mentor is one who knows what you are doing and want to make people move in that direction. So if you are a mentor, you must have gone through it yourself, and then now you are helping people come into it. Motivation speaker can come and talk about anything. Mentorship is, I was there. What did I do, which you can do to come out of it? You must have practical examples. You must be having that touch, that feel. And that is exactly what has helped me in this journey to become a success. I do what I do with the student is what has worked for me, and what I have seen it practically, and what I have experienced, and what has worked with others. My books are also the same. Why have I got so many books? It's because my books are about what has worked with the students, and that is why they sell very fast. It's like my books is a translation of what has worked to on now writing, such that even the person I'm not in contact with is able to read the book and become. So my books, all of them, they have all come up from my experiences. My first book was called Strategies for Improving Academic Performance. I told you it was like I was presenting the program on academic performance or improving academics in a school, and the principal told me to translate what I was doing with the girls into a book. So I just called it that, Strategies for Improving Academic Performance. If you read that book, it's all about me from my childhood, what worked for me, and some things is like when I'm writing, I want to Google and see like, are these things I'm really talking about there? I see they are there, but to me, nobody ever told me about them. But I realized I've done them, and when I go to Google, I can see information related to what I did. So it's like polishing what I've been doing by now, what others have experienced. So my books are just on that, in that line, and that is why I'm able to write books that are able to be of use to the society. They are not fiction, they are not imaginary, they are practical books. That is how my everything becomes a success. My teaching, I teach through example. Being a mathematics teacher and a lady, it's of great influence. My mentorship is about what has worked for me, and I'm helping the others do the same. My books are a success because they are practical. It's what is there is what has already worked with somebody else. Thank you.
Wow. Wow. I'm starting to become speechless, teacher, because your way of improving your students' perspective, like you said, is based on your experience, and you also put a touch of mentoring. You don't just tell them, you need to study because you will not be successful. You tell them what happened with you, as if you've said a while ago that before you talk about this, you must have experienced it. So basically, all your teaching, all the things you're sharing to your students, you have a first-hand experience. And that's that's one of the things that a teacher, a mentor, an inspiration must do. You don't just tell them to learn this, finish this, but you for yourself, you did not learn these things, you did not finish that task. It's a little bit hard to tell something to another people that you haven't experienced. That is why I really adore how you shared your ways of improving, how you wanted your students to change from this to a better person or a better student. It's really wonderful, actually. That's really allow me to tag you right now that you are really an inspirational educator, not just because you teaching two difficult subjects, mathematics and chemistry, but you are, again, you're not just a teacher, Teacher Joselyn. You are a life changer.
Amen.
Changer. Because
thank you.
You've said 1997 you're teaching students. I believe right now most of your students are also professionals like us, right? So you've had, or what's the right word? You've made an impact to their life. You've made an impact. And like you mentioned a while ago, you have 5 books. If you would like to, promote some of them before I ask you the final question, this is a surprise. But right now, I really wanted you to promote your books so that the listeners, they can hear, they can contact you. Dear listeners, I'll be putting in the profile of Teacher Joselyn her contact details. If ever you wanted to, get in touch with her, know more about her book. So also, I'll be sharing in the description of this episode her Facebook page so that you can get in touch. So right now, Joselyn, I'm giving you the opportunity to share your books, the title, so that the listeners can know more about it, please.
Okay, thank you. That's a golden opportunity. And also it's my pleasure because I really want these books to be read by many, many, many more students. So as you've mentioned, and as I've made it clear to you, I've written 5 books. The first book is the one I've told you. It's called Strategies for Improving Academic Performance. This book is basically about strategies which I have seen work with all types of students, weak, good, average students. So in it has 4 aspects. It talks about how a student can change their attitude towards the learning, because academic performance normally is not about the mind, as the content, if I may put it, it's about the mind. So it talks about how a student can develop a positive attitude towards learning, it talks about time management, it talks about the learning process, and it talks about relationships, healthy relationships. A student cannot improve performance if they are not in good relationship with the teachers, good relationship with the parents, good relationship with other pupils in class. So those are the main things in that book. My second book, it's a book now. After I sold that one, I felt parents would come and buy the book for their children, and they're like, "You, where is our book?" So my second book is called Parenting Teenagers in the 21st Century. Why did I write this book? It's because whenever I go to a school, mostly when they have the parent meeting, I would talk with them, and the parent would come and tell me, "You have helped me know what I can do to help my child. I've noted some gaps in my relationship with this child, which could have been impacting on their performance in school." So I felt now that this parent asking me for their book, and I've already written the one for the students, let me bring in the parents on board, because learning is in my country we cook with a Greystone fireplace. So there is the student, there is the parent, and there is the teacher, the school. So I felt, let me write something for the parents. That's why I wrote that book called Parenting Teenagers in the 21st Century. Much of what is there is about understanding who a teenager is, and also communication. Because a teenage is that person who just want to shield their communication. They have come to be conscious of who they are. So in the process of them now knowing whom they are, they block communication with the parents. And then the parents now keeps up. If they have to go to communicate with them, it's through more confrontation than communication. Then the communication blocks the communication, the confrontation blocks the communication the more, and then they lose touch. And once they lose touch, you can be sure even learning will not take place. So those are some of the areas I've addressed quite well in that book. My other book is called Side Mirror to Success. The Side Mirror came as the title came as an experience I had, but the reason behind me using it is I noted when a student, like now me when I was in Form 3, when I got this 3 out of 50, is like I'm driving on a highway and it's like I've reached a point where I can't move. It's a roadblock. My lane is stalling, it's not moving. So I think when a student has started deteriorating academically, it's like a stalled lane in a highway. And if you have to move on, you have to change the lane. So in this book, I talk to the student on how do you change from a lane that is not moving well academically to another lane and continue. So we have so many things which can stall the lane of a student. Attitude is one. Sometimes it's peer pressure. They are against it with friends in schools who are not making them move forward. They have developed an attitude towards a teacher, towards a subject. They have started engaging in some very unbecoming behavior, and it's stalling their movement. So Side Mirror helps you to know how do you move there and look for a lane that is moving and move on. Much of it talks about content understanding, content retention and content retrieval during exams. Most of the students will understand in class, but retention is a problem because when they understand in class, once they're out of class, they go into other things. So the retention is it's null. That's the main thing about that book. My other book, the fourth one, is called Pathfinder to My Target Grade. This one is basically about walking to your target. I've mentioned to you about academic clinic days in my country, and in those clinic days, students set the targets of the grade they want to get. So that grade they want to get, I give them the strategies to walk the journey to that one. And then the other one, I've developed materials for guidance and counseling sessions in schools. And those materials, my favorite book is a guide. It's called Guidance and Counseling Chart User Guide. It's a guide for teachers on how they can use my guidance and materials in schools. Those are my 5 books.
Wow. Definitely, my listeners listed down, okay, your books, because they're not just a typical book that, educators, it's not a manual, okay? Like you've said, it is based on your experiences. It is not fiction. It is not just made of imagination. There are real scenarios. That is why you decided, that is why you are inspired to write it. Am I right, teacher?
Yes.
Wonderful. That's really great to hear. And now, okay, for the final, I would not say it's a task, okay? And usually I don't tell this to my not listeners, okay, but to the guests. But right now, teacher, I would like you to give your few words, few inspirational message to our listeners, okay? But I want you to use your native language. I want you to talk to your fellow, the Kenyan students, your fellow Kenyan educators. And you might ask me, teacher, you would not understand that. But what I'm trying to do in here is that I want you to touch base with them. I want, because you know what, teacher, you are in the field of psychology, and I'm just, heard this with some of my colleagues, that when we are talking in our native language, the emotion, the pure of the idea is there when we are using native language. That is why since my first season, I always ask my guests to give their inspirational message, their final thoughts in their native language. So right now, Teacher Joselyn, I want you to give your final message, anything you wanted to say, and you can use your native Kenyan language. So go ahead.
Okay, I'll use Kiswahili, is my native Kenyan language. Mimi nataka kuambia wanafunzi hivi, masomo ni kitu rahisi, si kitu ngumu. Lakini shida ni vile mnakuanga na hii stress ya kuweka vitu nyingi sana kwa your mind. Mnawekanga vitu nyingi sana kwa mind. Masomo inakosa space. Na ningewaambia hivi, if mngeweza kuwa na hiyo hiyo determination ya kutaka kuweka masomo mbele. Hata ikiwa TC utaenda au utakuwa na entertainment au utakuwa na other things, lakini ukifanya hizo vitu zote, uhakikishe masomo ndio inakuwa priority. Ukiamuka asubuhi, anzia siku yako na kufikiria mambo ya masomo, na mchana yote, mambo yote utapitia, jaribu kuifanya ikuwe in relation na mambo ya masomo. Hata ukiwatch movie, wacha kuwatch movies alafu unafikiria friendship na somebody else. Watch your movie alafu anza kuona mambo ya masomo ndani yake. Nianje hii kitu na watch saa hii inaweza kukusaidia. Na sasa hiyo hata kucontrol ni nini una entertain yourself nayo. Entertain yourself na kitu inakufanya ikulete kwa masomo. Saa hii si wakati wa kuenda kwa vitu haikuleti kwa masomo saa hii. Usiharibu your mind, usiharibu mafikira yako, usipaki vitu si za maana kwa masomo yako. Ukitaka break kutoka kwa vitabu, enda kwa kitu entertaining lakini kitu inaendanisha na masomo. Usiende kwa kitu itakutoa mafikira yako kwa masomo, kwa sababu utakuwa una waste time yako. Ukisoma for 1 hour alafu uende uangalie movie fulani, ukienda usiku ulale ukifikiria hiyo movie, hiyo mambo yote umesoma itakuwa imeenda. So usi waste your time, na masomo takes time kidogo sana katika maisha yako. Masomo ina take by 20 years utakuwa umemaliza na mambo na masomo, and then after that unaweza fanya mambo ingine. Ukiwa hiyo siku nyingine utaishi even almost 40 years after, utakuwa una enjoy sacrifice ile ulifanya for a very short time. Hiyo ndio message yangu, na ninamwa encourage mutie bidii kwa masomo, na mpe masomo priority, na muache kuengage kwa vitu inawatoa mafikira yenu kwa masomo. Asanteni. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. There were a few English words, but then even if the words would not be understandable to other listeners, but the thought, the idea, the inspiration, I bet it's already in there. So from the bottom of my heart, Teacher Joselyn, thank you very much for dropping by in my very humble podcast. This episode will be a great start. Actually, just to inform you right now, I'll be putting this as the first episode of my 4th season, okay? Because the 3rd season has already ended with Teacher Tuba from Turkey. And right now, I decided to start my 4th season with a bang, with a blast, okay? And this episode was really inspirational. So dear listeners, you heard it. This will be the first episode of the 4th season, okay? We are now on our 4th season, inspiring teachers from around the globe. Let's start it with, once again, a very inspiring teacher from Kenya, Teacher Joselyn Kawira. Once again, teacher, thank you very much. It was really an honor to have you here.
Wow, that's great. It was also a great honor to have me in the first day of the year. This is gonna be a great year for me. I want to believe so. And I'm looking forward to listening to it and sharing and impacting many more people. I believe whatever I've said there is of great help, not only to the people in my country, but to the people of this world. It's my pleasure to have participated in this episode. Thank you so much for choosing me to start your episode.
Definitely, teacher, you will be an inspiration. And, like you've said while we're chatting, it's a gift, okay? Because it's not always money that would run the world, right? It would be the knowledge, the love our learners, the mentoring that you just, dear listeners, the way that Teacher Joselyn shared how a mentor should become a mentor is really simple. We don't need to dig in deeper. Simply by sharing the personal experience, okay, you can become a mentor. You don't just oblige your learners to do this, do that. Let them learn from your own experience because they will see that it worked. It was really a great help. Why not follow it, right? So again, teacher, thank you. This will be a great start of the year. And listeners, okay, to all the listeners, you've heard it from Teacher Joselyn Kawira, an educator, an author, and a mentor to her students. And that's it.
Thank you.
This episode of Inspiring Educator Season 4. This is your host, once again, Teacher Brian from the Philippines. See you next episode.